Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So I got a link I'm going to share with you guys down in the description. You can always find the links down in the description. I always put something for almost every video I ever do. I will put some sort of link or some sort of reference down in the description so that you guys can form your own opinion. I had somebody else, another person, say it the other day in a comment that why would anybody follow some dude in a broken down car who's giving money advice? Who would follow this? And I've said it a number of times. This is not a channel for taking financial advice from. We are simply here to have a discussion about economics. You form your own opinion with the information that you have to make the right decisions for you and your own. Right? That's the whole point of this channel, is to create a conversation. It's not for you to take financial advice from, just to use the information in conjunction with all the rest of the stuff that you are researching out there. I am just a small piece of the bigger puzzle. So, talking about China property developers are in some serious issues right now. Now, it started with Evergrande, but we knew that the rest of the property developers in China were going to have issues as well, because once Evergrande, the number one most indebted, biggest property developer in the entire world, once they started having issues, they were going to start dragging down the rest of the industry with them, and it's certainly taking place right now. Take a look at this article. It is quite intriguing, some of the things that are taking place. Like some of these developers who are looking to unload these properties are selling at an incredible discount. But yet when you go and you look at the government numbers, they are saying like the house or the home prices have increased by a very small amount, but they have gone up at like 1% last month, a percent, and I think another percent the previous month. But they're showing like this idea that home prices are incredibly stable over there right now. But yet the property developers and what they are offering is saying quite different. They're offering up to 30% discounts on a lot of these unsold homes and unsold properties, and in I'm sorry, in addition to incentivizing with dropping of prices, they're also offering up stuff like cars. Like, you buy a house or buy a property and get a car. Isn't, I mean, that's incredible, right? So this is the kind of situation that has taken place in China right now. And if you think about it, and if you read the article as well, this is going to come down to a confidence issue. Really, it's going to be whether or not somebody feels confident in buying a home, knowing, or at least under the idea, that the property may lose value after they purchase it. That is a position in which that nobody wants to be in. Nobody wants to hold on to a property that's losing value. Like, you want to sell that property before it has a chance to drop any further, which ends up causing more of a problem. It's just like this self-fulfilling prophecy, much like inflation. Expectation goes up, people go out there and start buying double what they need or paying more for what they're looking for, because they're afraid that they either one won't be able to find the product, or it's going to cost that much more going into the future. So they pretty much hurry up and spend that money before they have a chance to lose the purchasing power or unable to find the items that they're looking for. Well, something quite opposite can happen inside of the real estate market when prices start to turn down. As property developers are looking to sell these properties and they're offering bigger discounts, the buyers are like, wow, look at all these discounts. They seem to be coming up all over the place. I'm going to hold back and see if I can get the biggest discount possible, considering they're offering cars and stuff like that to go along with it. So this is really the situation that's happening over there in China that I feel is going to start taking place around the world. And it really has to come down to that debt issuance. Okay? That's what really started taking Evergrande down, is that when they could not roll their old debt into new debt, or that old debt into new debt started costing them more, they couldn't afford it any longer. And so ultimately they were a zombie company. And that's what I feel is happening throughout a lot of the economy right now, is that not only do we have zombie companies, but we have zombie people out there as well. I mean, these are individuals that if they were not able to take out ever increasing amounts of cheap debt, their whole way of life would simply begin to vanish, and that they would not be able to support themselves. It's amazing on how many people were just able to live off the equity that's in their home. Like, every year they would just refinance their home, take out the equity, and live off of that equity. Well, that can only go for so long. I mean, it seems like it can go on forever if that's the game that you're playing, and at least that's what you would hope for, that you can continue to do this. But the truth of the matter is that it eventually gets to a point where you're not going to be able to roll that debt into new debt, and then you have to come up with the payment. And that's where you end up postponing your current consumption to pay for the past spending, or postpone your current spending to pay for the past consumption. I think that's probably a better way of saying it. That situation is going to start coming. It's going to come for everybody. It's going to happen here in the United States. It's going to happen to the emerging economies out there. It's going to happen just like it's taken place in China, but it's going to look a little different. Everybody's going to experience it some way, somehow, in a different fashion. In China, it happened to be the property developers. Here in the United States, it could be, who knows, it could be anything. Like, it could be the energy sector. It's probably not going to be energy. I would imagine it's probably going to end up being more in a corporate debt problem. Like, that's where I feel that there's probably going to be the biggest issue, is when you have corporate debt defaults that start to really run rampant. That's going to start creating an issue with employment, with, production of items, especially if you have a lifting of interest rates. I mean, you think about it, like, it still blows me away that you see these articles, but yet nobody seems to really question it. Because there was a supply chain breakdown that caused a limited amount of inventory during a time when the people were given a stimulus check to go out there and consume as much as they possibly could, depleted the inventory. Now we have prices that are elevated. Why? Because it's simply not there to be had. There's less cars available, prices go up. Less houses available, prices go up. You're going to find the same thing throughout all the consumable goods that are out there. When food supply begins to diminish, prices go up. We're going to see this happening throughout a major part of the entire industries, throughout the entire economy. Now, my question is that if you have a problem with supply, it's not a demand issue. Like, the demand was there because of all the stimulus, but the demand is not the issue. It's the supplying of the demand. Now, if you take the demand and you make it a burden on them, why would the suppliers out there continue to supply? Think about that for a second. All of a sudden, the consumer is being hit. We don't want, like, the banking industry, the central banking system says, hey, we do not want this many consumers out there. We're going to lift interest rates to put a damper on the consumers. If you were a supplier or manufacturer out there who hears this, would you honestly think, wow, we need to keep on pushing to get the supply out. We need to supply more. We need to produce more. Is that the type of mentality that you would have? Or would you look at this going, okay, boys, it looks like it's up. From here on out, it's going to be tougher to do sales. We're not going to be able to do as much transactions. The economic activity is going to slow down, and we're not going to need to supply nearly as much because there's not going to be as many consumers out there, considering the interest rates are going to go up on all the debts that they pay. You see where I'm getting at? Like, how is it that you're supposed to fix a supply chain breakdown with the lifting of interest rates? Can't. What you're going to do is you're going to cause an economic painful situation to the point that people just simply could not afford to buy these things. And we're talking food, we're talking energy, we're talking the daily things that people need in their lives. It's not like, people are worried about not being able to afford a big screen TV. In fact, from what I understand and from what I'm seeing, the electronics are dropping like crazy, like the prices of them. Why? Because nobody needs that. What they need is food and energy, shelter, and clothing. Everything else is a want. And people's wants are going to diminish, and they're going to turn into complete needs. Uneducated economist, you guys let me know.